12/2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, in the Governor's March 15, 2020 order, imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Board of Selectmen will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation can be found on the town's website at www.sturbridge.gov/town-access-virtual-meeting. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting, either online via the town's on-demand video broadcast, on cable television on channel 191, or dial into the meeting at 774-304-1455, enter 1428 for the meeting number and 12345 for the access code. This phone number is only active for the public during public meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post audio and/or video recordings, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings on the town's website as soon as possible after the meeting. Nice when we go live and I don't have to read that all the time. Okay, could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening. On the agenda this evening, we have public service announcements. We'll have a moment of silence. We have a public hearing at 6:35 for change of category liquor license for 3 Arnold Road. At 6:45, we have a public hearing allocating the local property tax levy among the classes of real property and personal property for fiscal year 2021. Then we have department reports from the administrator. We have action items which include several appointments and acceptance of resignation. We also have action on a retirement from the fire department. We have a few donations. We have consideration and possible action on purchase of a fire pumper for the Sturbridge Fire Department. We also have consideration and possible action on the purchase of security systems for the Town Hall Center office building and public safety building, consideration and possible action on the contract for installation of fiber optic cables between town buildings, consideration and possible action on the contract for annual audit services, consideration and possible action on an agreement for hazardous material removal, consulting services, consideration and possible action on providing a letter of support from the Board of Selectmen to a limited application waiver for the herbicidal treatment of right-of-ways by the Department of Public Works, consideration and possible action on donation to the Senior Center, consideration and possible action on an amendment of an agreement with the Federal Highway Administration for the funding of the construction of a portion of the Grand Trunk Trail. We have old business under that COVID-19 update. Then we will have new business, part of which will be a discussion on the petition received, correspondence, approval of minutes, citizens forum, and then we will adjourn. Okay. Does anyone have any public service announcements? Mary?
I just have one. The Special Events Committee is planning another 5K virtual race Home of the Brave. We held it last year as well. You can walk or you can run. It's going to be virtual this year, which means you do it on the weekend of the November 14th, 15th, on the route that you choose. It could be the route we did last year. We will have more details. Nobody can sign up yet, but for those interested, put that weekend on hold. It's the weekend right after Veterans Day, and the proceeds will benefit the same veterans organizations that we did last year in Worcester. So it's a great cause. It's an opportunity to get outdoors, and I hope we have at least as good a turnout as we did last year. And again, it's going to be held virtually, so more on that later. And I just hope everybody had a happy and healthy Labor Day weekend. That's it.
Mike, do you have anything?
No, I don't have any public service announcements today.
Okay. Ian, what about you?
No, I do not.
Okay. And I don't have any either. But now, can we please have a moment of silence for all those affected by the virus? Okay, thank you. Okay, it's a little after 6:35, and we do have a public hearing. Mike, do you have the notice to read?
Yes, I do. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 138, the Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 9th at 6:35 p.m. regarding the change of category of a liquor license filed by Susan LePage and Jonathan Cook of Homefield Brewing LLC at 3 Arnold Road, Fiskdale, Mass. 01518. This hearing will be held at Veterans Memorial Hall, Sturbridge Town Hall, 308 Main Street, Sturbridge, Mass. The Sturbridge Board of Selectmen elect, consistent with Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, to hold the public hearing virtually. Details regarding how to virtually access a meeting can be found at https www.sturbridge.gov, Town Administrator, /pages, /how to access virtual meeting.
Okay. Hey, Suzanne, do you want to explain your petition?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Basically, we've been running Homefield as a brew pub, so only serving beer and wine for over 3 years now. Obviously, with the COVID restrictions, we have had a lot of downturn in business. We did stay open for takeout for a while in the initial shutdown. Then we closed for about a month and a half to kind of do some new business planning. And we're back really, with some new ideas and ways to generate some additional business. So we would like to we have a lot of local fruit in our area. For those who don't know, our specialty and our niche is local food. So there is a lot of food, a lot of local food, a lot of local fruit, berries, and et cetera, and we think they make excellent cocktails. So we'd like to expand our liquor license to include hard alcohol as well as the beer and wine that we sell now.
Okay, so you're looking for a full liquor license then?
Correct.
Okay. Andrea, did all the green cards come back?
Yes.
Okay. So everything's in order with the application?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, comments on the application?
This is Mike, and I'd just like to comment that Homefield has been a very good business for the community, and as far as I know, it's been run very well as far as the liquor license goes. And with the, I hope they do keep the local aspect as far, if we do approve the license, that there are several businesses locally that are now distilling and doing, making products that we probably won't be able to get anywhere else except at Homefield because they do emphasize local products. So I encourage them to continue doing that.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Mary?
I just also want to comment that I, support the request for the full liquor license. I think that anything we can do to help local restaurants and those that are particularly affected economically by the COVID mitigation, that we should try to encourage. And I think it's great that you're trying to adapt and move forward and stay optimistic. So that's it.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so Jeff, is anyone on the line?
Good evening. Is there anyone on the public line that would like to speak to the Homefield Brew change in liquor license? Would anyone like to speak on the Homefield Brew change in liquor license? There's no one on the line, and there's no one on the public comment email.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion then to close the public hearing?
Mary Dowling, so moved.
Second, Mike.
Okay, Ian, how do you vote?
I'll abstain from the vote.
Hey, Mike, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, somebody want to make a motion then? Oh, Jeff?
Nope, after the motion, I have a comment.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to either approve or disapprove the request for the all alcohol wine, malt, and cordial license?
This is Mike, and I'll make the motion to approve the change in liquor license as the chair just described for all alcohol.
Mary Dowling, I'll second it.
Okay. Ian, how do you vote?
Abstain from the vote.
Okay. Mike?
Mike votes yes.
Mary?
Mary, yes.
And I vote yes. So, congratulations.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Okay. Okay, Jeff?
Yes, I would just ask the board members to stop by in the next day or two to sign the paperwork for the change in license, please. There'll be several documents awaiting your signature. That one, and if you move forward with the Board of Assessors documents, you'll need to sign a form for them as well. So if you can make arrangements to stop by in the next couple of days, they'll be in the town clerk's office. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. It is 6:45. We have another public hearing scheduled to allocating the local property tax levy among the classes of real property and personal property for fiscal year 2021. Okay, Ian, I imagine you are going to present.
Yes, I am. Good evening. We're here to present the fiscal 2021 classification hearing to the Board of Selectmen. I'm going to give a PowerPoint. If you would like to take the vote as we do the options or as we normally do at the end, that's totally up to the Board of Selectmen how they want to handle that. Whichever way you want to go forward. Do you want to vote after each option, or would you like to wait till the end?
I think we've always found it easier to just wait for the end and make 4 motions.
Okay, sounds good.
Madam Chair,
Mike?
Did you want me to read the notice, or?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
please.
Okay. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 51, the Board of Selectmen, together with the Board of Assessors, will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 9th, 2020, at 6:45 p.m. on allocating the local property tax levy among the classes of real property and personal property for FY 2021. This hearing will be held at Veterans Memorial Hall, Sturbridge Town Hall, 308 Main Street, Sturbridge, Mass. The Sturbridge Board of Selectmen elect, consistent with Governor Baker's March 12, 2020, order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, to hold the public hearing virtually. Details regarding how to virtually access a meeting can be found at the town website under the town administrators page, how to access virtual meetings.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Okay, Ann.
The Town of Sturbridge Fiscal Year 2021 Classification Hearing presented by the Sturbridge Board of Assessors and Ann P. Murphy as the Principal Assessor. Board of Selectmen will be voting on 4 different issues: selection of a SIP factor, the open space discount, residential exemption, and small commercial exemption. The fiscal 2021 tax rates stated in this presentation are proposed and have not been certified by the Department of Revenue. Difference in tax amounts from fiscal 2020 to fiscal 2021. Our tax rate was 1902 last year, and it is 1902 this year. The Board of Assessors did not do a global change to values this year. After doing our full sales review, we determined that our values are at 95% of fair market value. This is the percentage that is required to receive certification from the Department of Revenue. Properties will not see a value change in general. Only properties that had improvements, a sales review, a value review, or a cyclical review may see a change in value from fiscal 2020. I would like to state that when the COVID hit, the Board of Selectmen had stated that they would like to try to keep the tax rate the same and not have taxes go up for our residents. Due to the hard work of the Finance Committee, the Board of Selectmen, setting up our budget and making cuts and adjustments where they were needed, and the hard work of Barbara Berry and Chris Garrity and myself, we were able to complete that task, and we were able to get our tax rate to be exactly the same as last year. It was quite a monumental feat to do that. Okay, so you're going to vote on the SIP factor. The SIP factor is the commercial, industrial, and personal property factor. You can shift the tax burden. The shifting of the tax burden involves the Board of Selectmen to adopt either a single tax rate with a factor of 1 or adopt a split tax rate with a lower residential factor. 100 of Massachusetts cities and towns had a split tax rate for fiscal year 2020, of which 85 of those had a higher SIP factor than Sturbridge. The higher the commercial, industrial, and personal property value makes it more feasible to apply a split tax rate. Our current tax rate is 1902. The proposed tax rate is 1902. If you went with a split tax rate at 1.05%, the residential tax rate would drop to 1880. The commercial, industrial, and personal property tax rate would go up to 1997. If you did a split tax rate at 1.10%, residential would be 1859, and the commercial, industrial, personal property would be 2092. An example of the minimum residential factor at work. You had a residential property valued at $280,000 and a commercial property valued at $280,000. With a single tax rate of 1902, they would both pay $5,325.60 in taxes. If you went with a 1.05 factor, the tax rate would drop to $1,880. The residential property would save $61.60. The commercial property would see an increase of $266. A minimum residential factor of 1.10 would have a residential property see a value savings of $120.40, and the commercial property would see an increase of $532 in taxes. The impact of the tax rate is it reduces the taxes for residential and open space properties, and it increases the taxes for mixed use, commercial, and industrial properties, and for taxpayers required to pay a personal property tax. We currently have 4,218 residential and open space properties, and we have 792 commercial, industrial, and personal properties. Second choice tonight is voting on the open space discount. The open space discount is a shift of up to 25% that can be adopted by vote of the Board of Selectmen for all property that is classified as open space. This exemption is borne by the residential classes of the property and will increase the residential tax rate without affecting the commercial, industrial, or personal property classes. All classified open space is currently in Chapter 61, 61A, or 61B. These chapter lands are assessed at 25% of their fair market value or lower. An additional discount would not benefit Sturbridge or the taxpayer. For example, 10 acres of excess land at full and fair cash value is $3,500 per acre times 10 acres is $35,000 in value times the tax rate is $665.70. The same land in Chapter 61 Forestry would be valued at $78 per acre times 10 acres, $780 in value times the tax rate. They would pay $14.84 in taxes. The same land in Chapter 61A is valued based on its soil type from the Farmland Valuation Advisory Commission, which cropland, for example, is currently at $157 per acre. So that property would only pay $29.86 in taxes. And the same Chapter 61B recreational property is valued at a 25% discount. Their value would be $875 per acre. Their taxes would be $166.43. So as you can see, the chapter lands already receive a very reduced value and pay low taxes. That's why we don't see a value of adopting the open space. Our third vote would be on the residential discount. You can grant up to 35% discount to owner-occupied residential properties. Exclusions to this exemption are vacant residential land, seasonal and second homes, and residential properties not occupied as a primary residence by the owner, so being rental homes, apartments, and mixed use. The impact is to the overall residential class and shifts the burden from qualified properties onto the unqualified properties. So with that in mind, in addition to the properties mentioned above, some principal residence owners with higher values would also pay more as the residential tax rate would be higher. To vote with a 35% tax rate impact, the amount of the exemption would be $93,877. This amount would be deducted from the current value of a qualified property. The estimated fiscal 21 tax rate is $19.02 per thousand. If the maximum percentage was adopted, the residential tax rate would increase to $26.42. So an example of that, a qualified property versus an unqualified property. Same value, $268,219. At the single rate of $19.02, they would both pay $5,101.53. With the 35% exemption, the qualified property's value gets adjusted down to $174,342, with the unqualified property's value staying the same. The qualified property would see a decrease of $495.41 in taxes. The unqualified property would see an increase of $1,984.82 in taxes. With a 15% exemption, the exemption would be $40,233. That amount would be deducted from a current qualified property, and the residential tax rate would increase from 1902 to 2161. The example would be the qualified property and the unqualified property, both paying the same at the rate. If you do the 15% exemption, the qualified property would see a decrease of $209.41 in taxes. The unqualified property would see an increase of $694.68 in taxes. Shifting point. If you adopt the residential exemption, the shifting point of value would be approximately $335,300. So approximately 2,445 properties would see a decrease in real estate taxes. 1,672 properties would see an increase in real estate taxes. And our last vote would be on a small commercial exemption. The Board of Selectmen may decide annually to exempt up to 10% of the value of commercial properties that qualify. Small commercial exemption lowers taxes on properties occupied by small businesses and shifts those taxes to other commercial and industrial taxpayers. Only commercial properties are eligible, and properties must be occupied by the business as of January 1, 2020. Owner occupied. No more than 10 employees at all locations during the previous calendar year, and properties must have a valuation of less than $1 million. The property has multiple commercial occupants. All occupants must be eligible businesses. 7 out of 210 businesses on the list sent to Sturbridge by the Department of Labor and Workforce Development may qualify for the exemption. The total valuation is approximately $23,674,234. A 10% shift would increase the tax rate by approximately 20%. An example of the small business exemption, business A qualifying and business B not qualifying, at a value of $396,500 in a single rate of 1902, they would both pay $7,541.43. A 10% exemption would lower the value of a qualified business to $356,854. The tax rate would now change to 1924. A qualified business would see the decrease of $675.64 in taxes, where the unqualified business would see an increase of $87.23. Only the commercial properties can qualify, but the industrial class must share the burden. It is the owner of the property, rather than the business occupying the site, that receives the tax benefit. Commercial properties account for 12% of the tax levy, and the industrial properties account for 2.5% of our tax levy. Any sole proprietorship or partnership that does not appear on the certified list can apply directly to the assessor's office, and the assessors will make the determination whether it met the criterion for the previous calendar year. The recommendations from the Board of Assessors is to vote to adopt a single tax rate, vote not to adopt the open space discount, vote not to adopt the residential exemption, and vote not to adopt a small commercial exemption. This concludes our presentation this evening, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ann, and everyone else that worked on it. Does the board have any questions or comments? I can't see if anyone has their hand up because the
I
have
a question and a comment. Mary Dowling.
Okay, go ahead, Mary.
Okay, the question is, was that a unanimous vote, Ann, by the assessors?
Yes.
Okay, and I just have a comment. I know Ann started off by saying that the Board of Selectmen wanted to keep our tax rate at 1902, and I think she characterized it as a monumental feat by a number of boards and staff. And I just want to echo that and say thank you in particular to Jeff Bridges, our town administrator, for spearheading the effort, and for all of the staff, because I know the pre-COVID budget and the post-COVID budget had different salary increases. And although it wasn't a huge impact on our overall budget, because our budget is in the millions, it certainly had an impact on their individual finances. So I just want to say it again to thank all of our staff. They didn't get the raise that they thought they would, starting with our TA. And I'm very pleased that this particular year we were able to hold our tax rate constant. So I just want to thank Ann and everybody involved, and I just wanted to make it public.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from any other members?
I have one more question. Ann, it looks like I've always supported the single tax rate since I've been on the selectmen, but it looks like the amount of communities has slightly increased splitting the rate. Is that right? I think you said there's 100 now, or is that always the case?
No, last year it was 116.
Oh, it's going the other way. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. And I actually did a little more digging this year on the residential exemption, because I know that always seems to be a topic. And let me just see here. The DOR had sent out they always send out different informational things for us to look at throughout the year. And they did a thing on the residential exemptions, and they were saying that communities that choose to adopt the residential exemptions usually have the following characteristics. They're usually larger cities and towns with many non-owner occupied properties like apartment buildings, or the resort communities with many seasonal residents. And I checked, and there was only 15 communities out of the 351 that adopt the residential exemption. And there are communities like Barnstable, Boston, Brookline, Cambridge, Nantucket, Provincetown, Truro, Wellfleet, kind of following suit as to what the DOR is saying. And then on the small commercial exemption, 14 communities in Massachusetts adopted a small commercial exemption out of the 351, and most of them had about a 25% to a 35%. One actually had 91% of their tax levy being commercial, industrial, personal property. So just, it was interesting to see what types of communities do vote on those. I didn't know.
Also, Ann, I think you have said this in the past, but correct me if I'm wrong. With the residential exemption, the retirement community actually would be hit with that, right? Because of the way it's priced, and that's one of that houses some of the.
Yeah, if you went with the residential exemption if you had a residential exemption of 35%, the taxes for the retirement community would go up $31,555. And at a 15%, their taxes would go up $11,019. So it would impact them hugely.
Right. Okay. I've always found that interesting, because sometimes I'll have questions by residents asking why we don't adopt that. But it seems like it hit hardest to some of our seniors whose means are even less. But anyway, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
It seems to be seasonal resort areas like the Cape. There's about 5 or 6 of them that adopt it. And the bigger towns like Boston, Cambridge, places that have a lot of apartment buildings and things like that, non-owner occupied.
And what is the split between owner-occupied and non-owner occupied in Sturbridge? I used to question, whether we should do a residential rate, but I'm pretty much convinced, because we have such a high rate of owner-occupied residential properties that it really would skew the numbers so that it wouldn't be a great advantage to anyone.
Yeah, let me just see here. Let me get my papers on that.
That's okay. You can
Yep.
let us know later.
No, I have the paper on that. Let me see here. It's about, like I said, 2,445 properties would see the decrease. 1,672 would see the increase. So of that 1,672, there's about, I would say we're about 1,200 maybe of non-owner occupied out of them. That's an approximate number, but it's about that.
We got over 2/3 of our residential properties that are owner occupied, so that's
Yeah.
high, very high percentage.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Paul, I see Paul Murphy sitting there. Paul, I didn't see you before because of the PowerPoint. I didn't mean to neglect you. Welcome, and thank you for your hard work. Okay, Jeff, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone on the line.
Yes, thank you.
Mary, I'm not feeling neglected. Nice to see you all.
Good to see you.
Good evening. Is there anyone on the line that would like to speak to the public hearing on the allocating the local property tax levy amongst the classes of real property and personal property for FY21? Is there anyone who would like to speak at the public hearing for the tax rate for FY21? There's no one on the line and there's no public comment email.
Okay, is someone willing to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Sorry, we need to take the vote.
We gotta close the public hearing first.
No, we do it after we close the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Seconded, Mike. I'll second the
Mary?
motion to close.
Mary, how do you vote?
Mary Dowling, yes.
Ian, how do you vote?
Ian, yes.
Michael?
Mike, yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, now we need to take a vote. The first one will be on the selection of the CIP factors. So listening to all the information, does somebody want to make a motion on that?
This is Mike, and I'll make a motion to have a single tax rate on the CIP.
Mary Dowling, I will second that.
Okay, any discussion? Ian, how do you vote?
Ian, yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The next one is the open space discount. And the recommendation is not to vote for it.
Yeah, this is Mike, and I'll make a motion not to have a open space discount on tax rate.
Ian, second Mike's motion.
Okay, any discussion? Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The next one is the residential exemption.
This is Mike, and I'll make a motion not to have the residential exemption on our tax rate.
I'll second Mike's motion. Ian.
Okay, any discussion? Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, and then the last one, small commercial exemption.
This is Mike, and I'll make a motion not to have the small exemption on our tax rate, the small business, commercial exemption on our tax rate.
Ian, I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
Ian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mike, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, Ian and Paul.
Okay, again, I'd like to thank all of you, the Finance Board, Jeff, Barbara, and Chris, for all the hard work. It was really a good team effort.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
You
Thank
too.
you, Ben.
Thank
Have a
you,
good
Ann.
night.
Thank you, Ann, Paul.
Thanks.
And next, we have department reports. We have the town administrator, Jeff.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. You have my written report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions on those. I also have a couple of additional items to just bring the board up to speed on. So if there's no questions on the report, I'll go into the other items. No?
Anyone have a question, comment?
Okay.
I had a question on a Green Communities grant. What are we spending the $176,918 generally on? Just
Different upgrades at different buildings. I can send the list out to the board of what the, how the breakdown of the money is going to be spent. So I'll make a note to send that out. You'll see an agreement at your next meeting for that.
okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Jeff, you had a few other items you said?
Yes, thank you. Pilot Truck Stop is under reconstruction, so we'll be taking their septage for a month or so, about 10,000 gallons a day. We do charge, we're gonna charge them the same rate we charge other haulers for their septage, but we'll be taking theirs for about 4 weeks. The horse track, we're gonna have a teleconference on Friday to go over where we are with the horse track and the zoning bylaw and what the process will be for the board to review that and get it in front of town meeting, the zoning ordinance, as well as a host community agreement, because the board will, if it gets to that point, will engage with a host community agreement. So Friday, we're gonna have a conference call with our town council and their representatives, Gene, to start that, laying out that process for everybody to understand, and we'll get you that information when we get that fleshed out. The church.
Hey, Mary?
Oh, I was going to bring it up under old business, but since you've already brought it up, when you bring us up to speed, as I had requested, can that be like a written timeline of what exactly they have to do with a note of what MGL applies, what Code of Mass regs apply, that kind of thing? Starting to get questions, and I'd like to be a little bit more conversant. So if something can be in writing that says, okay, now it's going to the planning board, they're having a public hearing. I guess we have our own public hearing to approve a racetrack, and do they happen simultaneously? Do we wait for one to be over? I just, if that can be outlined in kind of like a timetable by council, that would be great. And
That's the goal. We want to make sure everybody understands the process and the decision points for each board. I think that's important for the community to understand that, as well as all the board members that will be involved.
All set, Mary?
Okay.
Okay, Jeff.
The church is working with us, well, we're working with them on the electric charging stations. So kind of a collaboration. So they're gonna authorize up to 3 spots for the charging stations, which will give us 6 charging ports. There's also a couple other items that we're engaged with them on. They want to redo the sidewalk in front of their building. They're across from the town hall. So working with them on that, since we share a lot of space and share a lot of access points, they've asked us if we would participate. So we're proposing that we would do the demolition of the existing sidewalk and pay for the asphalt, but they were to hire the contractor to put it all back and make it ADA compliant. So we think that's a pretty good deal overall. If the board has any concerns on that, the material cost is like $500 to $600, and then the DPW's time on the demolition, and then they would put the sidewalk back to ADA specifications. Eventually, you're going to see an agreement between the church and the town for your consideration on the placement of the charging stations. Since they own the property, we need to kind of have an agreement that we would take responsibility. We would give them insurance for those to be there. We would have a separate meter that would pay for the electricity, and there would not be any liability on the church's behalf to have those charging stations. So it's a kind of a bundled up deal. But if there's any concerns on the sidewalk issue, let me know, or if you have any questions. Okay. The codification project, part of the town meeting was money to codify the town's charter and bylaws. We have a semi-finished product, but there's certain tweaks and adjustments that are being made. So we're going to send the different tweaks to the Board of Selectmen. There's 215 pages of this stuff to go through. There's probably about 30 different decision points for the board to make. So I'm going to send that out to you all to look at and review, and probably ask you how you want to do that, how you want to go through this. You don't have to make decisions on the whole document, but you kind of have a buy-in on what the other departments and then the other boards have made for tweaks and decisions. And then there's, like I said, 15 to 20 different decision points for the board to make on specific items related to the Board of Selectmen. So I'm going to send that out with a cover memo, and Jean put together a chart on the different things the board has to decide on. And we can talk about it at the next meeting, how you want to go through this, whether you want to have a special meeting, whether you just want to send comments back to me. But we'll send it out to you to look at first. New England Cold Storage got a final approval last night before the planning board. They got the Concom's approval the week before, so New England Cold is good to go. And we've actually been approached by another cold storage facility that wants to build generally in the same area, another 100,000 square foot facility. So they're actually going to be issuing or submitting a letter of intent for a TIF to construct their cold storage facility in Sturbridge, which is a great industrial user as well. One other thing I made, 508 International, laying off a Ladd Road. There's a lot of issues going on with that property. Concom's been looking at it. Now we think we have a zoning issue down there where they're using the land in chapter land for commercial uses. So we'll be looking into that from a zoning perspective and bring a report back to both the planning board, Concom, and the Board of Selectmen. They may not be acting consistent with their land use designation, so our zoning enforcement officer will have to do an inspection and get back to that. There's been a lot of comments, or at least some comments in the community. Concom's been dealing with it as a wetland issue, so we're going to have to get the zoning officer involved to look at the use of the property. Final note, in my memo, I mentioned the marketing plan from the Sturbridge Tourist Association. There is a, excuse me, a 15-second TV spot that's been created. I want to share that with you real briefly this evening. So if you hold on, I'm going to show you the TV spot. Are you getting any sound?
No.
No,
Okay. Well, that's the audio or the video. I don't know if I can get audio with it. Hold on. No, I'm not getting the audio through the GoToMeeting. But that's what the video will look like. And again, I'll send the link out to the board so you can hear the audio, but that's the video side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's all I have this evening, Madam Chair.
okay. Any questions or comments on the latter items from the board? Mary?
Again, I was going to bring this up under old business, but since it's on the town administrative report, I also did receive a few communications with residents who are concerned with 508 International possibly exceeding zoning. So Jeff already mentioned that. I'm glad they're looking into it. In particular, I was sent a YouTube of how the Red Trail, which is in Sturbridge, or at least a portion of it is in Sturbridge, how it's being described on this YouTube. So I was going to, let Jeff know, but it looks like they're already looking into it. So I will also send you this YouTube if you're interested, Jeff, but it did come from a resident concerned that the proposed uses are not consistent with how the land is zoned. Mm-hmm. So that's just a follow-up to one of Jeff's updates.
Good.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, Mary Lou has been
Oh, wait a minute.
patiently.
Sorry, Madam Chair. The last thing on my memo was a request for me to donate 37 and a half hours to Robin.
Oh.
Yes. As a new employee, she has limited vacation time, and she has a young family. I'd like to give her 37 and a half hours of my time, which I have difficulty expending. So I would ask the board approve that, please.
Questions, comments from the board? Someone want to make a motion one way or the other?
Mary Dowling, I'll make a motion to allow Jeff Bridges to share 37.5 hours of his vacation time with Rob for this year.
I'll second Mary's motion.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, when we vote on the motion, I'm going to vote in the negative. I think it's setting a precedent. We have other employees who have not worked 5 years to get the 15 days vacation time either. I give Jeff credit for his generosity, but I'll be voting in the negative. Okay, Mike, how do you vote?
Yeah. As long as it doesn't set a precedent, because this is I think this is a special situation. I will vote yes. But
Mary?
with the caveat, it's not setting a precedent.
Mary, how do you vote?
I also want to comment because in different times it can look like, and I'm not saying Jeff is trying to do this, but it can look like favoritism of one employee over another when you share vacation time. So I can appreciate Mary's concern, but because I agree with Mike, this is an exceptional circumstance with COVID-19. Students are having very different back to school. I don't know how young your children are, but we're in very different times. So I think because she does have a young family that Jeff indicated she did, and because we're in an emergency situation with the pandemic, I'm going to vote in favor of it. But I can see where it could lead to especially when somebody's not sick. I've seen it in the context of unions who they get together and they give their sick time when somebody's sick, doesn't have any more. But in this case, when it's vacation time, I just want to make sure it doesn't lead to some employees feeling that some are favored. But again, I agree with Mike. These are very special circumstances. So with that, I'm going to vote yes.
Okay, Ian, how do you vote?
I'll vote yes.
Thank you.
And I vote no. Okay, thank you, Jess. You all set?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have Mary Lou and the chief here. Mary Lou, we have a certificate to present to you, but first of all, let me say turned on the news the other night, and I don't normally do that. Lo and behold, it was just the beginning of the story on you. It was great. It was great, and you had a nice send-off at the end of your last shift. We didn't know about it, otherwise some of us would have been down there to stand and wave you off too. But the certificate is a certificate of appreciation. You have it there, Chief? Okay, this certificate is awarded to Mary Lou Volpe, Sturbridge Fire Department, presented on behalf of a grateful community in appreciation for your 17 years of dedicated service to the town of Sturbridge. Signed, the Sturbridge Board of Selectmen, September 9th, 2020. And I know you've heard it from a lot of people, but you've had a fantastic run, and you're going to be sorely missed, particularly by the children at school. I know you were doing the SAFE program when I was still there, and they loved you then, and they still love you now. So good luck in your retirement. Anyone on the board want to say anything? Thank you, Mary. Mary?
I also had a pit in my stomach when I read that, Mary, Lou, that you were retiring. And I also didn't know about your send-off. The fire department didn't share it with we select people, but had they shared it, I certainly would have attended. And for those of you watching, I just feel like Mary Lou has been exemplary in her dedication, not just to the fire department, but to the entire town of Sturbridge as a community. For those of you who don't know, when she was hired in 1977, sorry, you're a lot younger than that, in 2007, she was the first full-time female firefighter in the Sturbridge Fire Department. And that speaks volumes to those young girls at Burgess or middle school and high school that want to pursue public service in the fire and paramedic fields where we sorely need them. She is the example. She broke through that glass ceiling in a profession that, to a great extent, is still very male-dominated. She also was Firefighter of the Year of 2 years, and as Mary indicated, she's been the SAFE coordinator for the past 15 years for the students, for the children. But also, she's been very dedicated to the Recreation Committee. She is a strong voice for increasing recreational activities and opportunities, not just for the youth in town, but for all ages. And we are really going to miss her. I hope she stays very active. I'll miss her smiling face at the Christmas tree lightings when she hands out hot chocolate. And I wish you nothing but health and God's blessings in your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mary Lou, congratulations on a very, very successful career here in Sturbridge. I can think of so many things that you've done for the town I have, fond memories of your service, and there's a whole generation of children, now adults, from town that all know you and really, they love you, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. So thanks for your years of service.
Thank you.
Hey, I saw your latest woodworking project. Came out nice.
Thank you.
You ought to go into business.
No. I do it for pleasure.
Yeah. Well, enjoy. You deserve it.
Thank you. Can I just say I want to thank the town of Sturbridge, the Board of Selectmen,
Fire Chief for giving me the opportunity to be a member of the Sturbridge Fire Department. I've worked with some really great men and women. I'm going to miss them terribly. I want to thank the community for all their kind words that they extended to myself. And I especially want to thank my husband and daughters for putting up with my erratic hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Lou. Mary Lou, you can always change your mind.
They won't let me.
Okay.
Mandatory retirement,
I know.
always
I'm
hard.
not going yet, though.
No. We'll enjoy it, though.
Thank you.
Okay.
I can't believe it.
Next on the agenda, we have consideration and possible action on acceptance of a donation of protective equipment to the Sturbridge Fire and Police Department from Ocean State Job Lot. It includes 1,600 KN95 masks, 3,000 surgical masks, 20 gallons of hand sanitizer, 10 face shields, 15 infrared thermometers. And in the letter from Ocean State, they said that, the department didn't need to avail themselves of all of it. They could share it with others who do need it. But it is quite a donation. So do we have a motion to accept it?
I'll make a motion, Mary Dowling.
Make a motion to accept the donation from Ocean State Job Lot.
Well, I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, Ian, how do you vote? You said yes, but it didn't come through. Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And Jeff, as usual, will send a letter of appreciation.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, next we have a consideration and possible action on the resignation of Scott Belanger as a dispatcher with the Sturbridge Police Department. We have a memo from the interim police chief.
Yes.
And also a letter from Scott Belanger. He is
Yep.
moving out of state. Right, Chief? I think you're muted.
That's correct, yes. Thank you, yeah. He's moving to the Carolinas. He's already gone.
Yeah. Mm. Okay, is there a motion then to accept the resignation?
Mary Dowling, so moved. With regret.
Mike, I'll
Is there a
second it.
Okay, any discussion? Ian, how do you vote? Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
Yes.
Mike, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next we have resignation of on-call firefighter / EMT Scott Belanger from the Sturbridge Fire Department. Do we have a motion to accept that?
This is Mike, and I'll make a motion to accept the resignation with regrets of on-call firefighter EMT Scott Belanger from the Sturbridge Fire Department.
Is there a second?
And I'll second the motion. I'll
Okay,
second it.
discussion? Okay, Ian, how do you vote?
Ian, yes.
Mary?
Mary, yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next we have a consideration and possible action on the concurrence of appointment of call firefighter / EMT Robert Moynier to full-time position with the Sturbridge Fire Department. Chief, you want to say a few words on that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Bob is on the line, and Bob has been with the department since 2012, I apologize, 2012. However, he did do a stint with us from 2007 and from 1997 till about 2007. Bob is one of the part-time call firefighters that continued to come to work throughout this pandemic, was a regular shift taker as a part-time member of the department, and someone that I know the other firefighters look up to and respect for his knowledge and his experience. We did receive a number of applicants, and during a two-phase interview process, it became very clear that Bob was the best candidate for the position. So I'm very proud to present Bob to you tonight. He will start at a rate that is consistent with the collective bargaining agreement, effective October 6th. And he, as far as I know, has already enrolled in paramedic school. So I respectfully request that you appoint Bob Moyna tonight to the position of full-time firefighter.
Any questions from the board? Mary?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment that I know Bob. I can certainly speak to, and I think he will be an excellent addition as a full-time firefighter. And I was pleased to see that he's going to a full-time position rather than be on call.
Hey, Bob, do you want to say anything?
I'd like to say thank you to the Board of Selectmen and to Chief Grasso and the members of the Sturbridge Fire Department for their unwavering support of me. And I appreciate the opportunity to continue to serve the residents and the visitors to the town of Sturbridge in my new role. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Somebody want to make a motion then?
This is Mike, and I'd like to make a motion to concur with the appointment of Robert Moyna as a full-time firefighter EMT with the Sturbridge Fire Department effective October 6, 2020 at a rate of $24.54 per hour.
Mary Dowling, and I will second it.
Okay, any discussion? Ian, how do you vote? Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
Mike, how do you vote?
Yes.
And
Ian,
I
yes.
vote. Okay. Congratulations, Bob.
Good luck, Bob. God bless.
Thank you all very much.
Good going.
Thanks so much.
Okay, next we have consideration and possible action on the purchase of a fire pumper for the Sturbridge Fire Department. Jeff, you or the chief want to explain this one?
I'll let the chief talk about this one.
Okay. So I'm sure you recall that several months ago we had a catastrophic failure of one of our engines. It's a 1997 vintage vehicle that suffered a cracked frame rail. It was determined by DPW and then by the Freightliner dealership that the vehicle was non-repairable. Coincidentally, this fiscal year in the long-term capital plan, we were slated to request a new engine anyways. So about a year ago now, I formed a committee. Myself and three of the other firefighters began conceptualizing what our vision was for the future for the town of Sturbridge. The overarching goal was to build a truck that would last us several years into the future. Once we began putting our concepts down on paper, we interviewed several different vendors, and by interview, I mean they brought demo trucks out to us so that we could see the actual product that they were marketing. and we narrowed down our scope to a Pierce product. Pierce has a long-standing reputation in the fire service of building quality fire trucks, but just as important, their service reputation is second to none, and that was important to me from an administrator's perspective. Recently, we asked you to approve the town of Sturbridge becoming part of the HGAC purchasing consortium, and part of the reason for that was the pricing that they were able to offer, Pierce was able to offer through that consortium, was much more competitive than any other pricing that we could find. So we have a set of specifications. I'm not sure if those got shared. It was quite a large document, but that's pretty much every single nut and bolt that's going to go into this fire truck. And I'm happy to say that I feel very confident that we're getting a quality piece of equipment that's going to last us for a long time, and I feel we're getting it for a very fair price.
Yes, the document's 115 pages.
Did you, I mean, it's detailed. There's a lot of detail there.
There is.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Half of which I didn't understand.
Do you want to highlight any area of that 115 document description? Or we'll take your word, because I've got to be honest, I glanced at it. I looked it over, but, you know, that's really not my strength. So you're pleased with this purchase?
Yeah, I think the best way to describe this is a state-of-the-art piece of fire apparatus. I was recently speaking with the chief from Spencer, and coincidentally, they're ordering a very similar truck from Pierce. There's a few nuances that are different because of their community over ours, but I think that this is going to be a very, very useful asset for this department for a long time.
Okay, any other questions, Mike?
Yeah, I do have a question. The documents all say that the cost is going to be $659,000, I believe, but on Appendix A in the proposal it says $643,000. And I was wondering what the difference was between the two. It's on page 110 of our handout.
Jeff, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, the vendor Allegiance is offering a discount if we prepay for 50%, if we do a 50% prepayment or 100% prepayment for the vehicle. And the Commonwealth doesn't really allow us to pay for things we haven't received. So we're paying the full $659,463 rather than get a discount for a prepayment.
Okay, so Appendix A is with the prepayment.
That's correct.
And the actual purchase order will be for the $659,000.
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Someone want to make a motion then?
Mary Dowling, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of Pierce fire pumper truck from Allegiance Fire and Rescue of Walpole, Mass. for $659,643 as recommended by our chief.
Mike, I'll second it.
Second.
No,
Go ahead, Mike.
Any discussion? Okay, Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
Ian?
I vote yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, thank you, Chief, on that.
Thank you, and I will apologize for the lack of notice on Mary Lou's walkout ceremony. There's no excuse for it, so I do apologize. I will make sure when we get the new truck, you will all be included in that ceremony.
Yeah, I'm expecting a proper wet down for that truck, Chief.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. Have a good night, Chief. Okay, Next, we have consideration, possible action on an appointment of Mark Whiting as part-time dispatcher with the Sturbridge Police Department. So, Chief Dessert, do you want to go through that one, please?
Sure. I am happy to bring forward Mr. Whiting to you tonight for recommendation for appointment. He's been serving with us he came to us in May, asked if he could have an internship. He's a full-time student seeking his bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Westfield State University, and he's getting a minor in Spanish. While he's been here with as our intern, he's done an excellent job. When the position opened up, he applied for it. He was our #1 part-time candidate, so I'm bringing him forward. Recommended he be hired as our part-time dispatcher now that he's clearing up his internship.
Okay, Mark, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I would. I would first of all like to thank the Board of Selectmen, the Acting Chief Dessert, the Town of Sturbridge, and all who are involved in this for the possible appointment of this position. I truly appreciate it, and I hope to do great things for the town.
Hey, thank you. Anything else from the board?
No, I just want to comment, Mark, you've got a great resume. You did so well educationally at your GPA, and also that you're going to be having a Bachelor of Arts in Spanish as well, which I think is great when you know another language. That makes you all the more helpful in a community. So all the best to you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Someone want to make a motion then?
I'll make a motion, Mary Dowling, on the appointment of Mark Whiting as a part-time dispatcher with the Sturbridge Police Department. Should I, effective September 10th, 2020, at a rate of $20.80 per hour.
Is there a second?
I'll second Mary's motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Mike, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mary?
Mary, yes.
Ian? And I vote yes. Hey, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Welcome,
Chief.
Mark.
Thank
Ian? Yes.
Okay, next we have consideration and possible action on the concurrence of appointment of Alexandra McConnon as Administrative
Good luck, Mark.
Assistant to the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator. Jeff, you want to go through that?
Yes, after we take this item, can we take the extra item for the appointment of dispatcher that I sent out late afterwards so we can let the chief go?
So it's up there.
Yeah, it came up on the revised agenda as item Q, but,
Sorry, you may not have gotten that. That was the amendment that was sent out over the weekend.
yeah, I sent an additional item out Thursday.
Right, I just didn't print it with my other stuff.
Okay. All right, but we'll tackle that one in a minute. But with Andrea making changes in her personal and professional life, we recruited a new administrative assistant. Alexandra McConnon came out on as the head of that search, and having interviewed her and looked into her background, I've appointed her to that position, and I would ask the board to concur with that. Alexandra's on the meeting tonight if you have any questions for her.
Hi, Alexandra. Hey, anybody have any questions? Alexandra, is there anything you'd like to say?
I just wanted to thank Jeff and the board so much for this opportunity. I really love this town. I moved here a little over a year ago, and I love this town, so I would just love this opportunity to support you all here.
Sounds good. Somebody want to make a motion?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment. Alexandra, I read your cover letter with your resume. It's a very nicely written letter, and I appreciate someone that can write well. And the other thing I wanted to comment very briefly on is that this position, I know you've had other, frontline positions by looking at your resume, but you have to have some tough skin sometimes working in the public. Sometimes people aren't always the nicest to you, so just be aware of that and don't take it personally. I said the same thing to Andrea when we hired her, and she did pretty good. So she did very good.
Thank you.
So, just warning you that it can be a little frustrating sometimes. So, but I would like to make a motion to concur with the appointment. Or was there any other comments?
I said it's not too bad.
Oh, you already made a motion?
No, that was Andrea
Okay.
Hawkins.
Okay. Can I make a
So we
motion?
need- Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make the motion to concur with the appointment of Alexandra McConnon as Administrative Assistant to the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator, effective September 24th, 2020, at a rate of $19.75 per hour.
Okay. Is there a second?
Mary.
I'll second. I'll
Any
second. Me or Mary,
Okay, Mike.
either one.
Yeah. Mike, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mary?
Mary, yes.
Ian? And I vote yes.
Ian, yes.
Can I just say one more thing?
Mary?
Alexandra, I'm looking, do you like to be called Alexandra? Not Alex.
Alex is actually my preferred name, yeah.
Alexandra's very pretty, but Alex, welcome aboard. I'm sure you're going to do a great job. But I think this is also our last chance that Andrea's on the line, right? After this, it's going to be you. So again, I just want to thank Andrea for her service. You've got some big shoes to fill. I'm sure you'll do a great job. And I wish Andrea all the best for you.
Thank you so much.
Andrea will still be here on the
Andrea,
21st, though.
All of us.
Oh, she will. Okay.
We have a meeting on the...
Oh, it takes over the 24th. Okay. So I could have saved that until the 24th.
I will, but I'm away on vacation, so
Oh, that's
I'll be
right.
responsible for the minutes, but I won't be.
Oh, you'll be here.
Oh, so this is your last meeting, okay.
Andrea,
All right, so great.
Andrea, you did a super job. There wasn't anything any of the board members asked for that you weren't quickly responsive to and got everything we needed. And it was also, to your credit, if you were stuck on anything and you asked members of the board, you weren't reluctant, which is good. Because not everybody knows everything. None of us do, for sure. So, but you did a fantastic job. No, I don't. I think I do.
Barry knows everything.
Been all being around a long time. But Andrea, just enjoy your son and your husband. That's what it's all about, family.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to Alex.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes?
I will say,
Yep.
yes, with the board's approval, when Alex comes on, we're going to need some training time from Andrea. So there'll be some hours per week for a few weeks to help get Alex started. And then as we go along, there'll probably be some hours from Andrea to help train Alex. And Janae has also offered and accepted some, she'll be around to help Alex as well. So we're going to still have some hours with Andrea after Alex starts.
No, that's good. I don't think anyone doubts the fact that it would be very helpful, particularly Alex.
Yes.
So that's fine. Okay, so Jeff, you want to take up the queue now?
Yes, thank you. And Alex, welcome aboard. You can leave, but if you want to get the full taste of it before you start, you can stick around.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Chief Dessert, Christopher Kane, please.
Hello again. Christopher Kane was a candidate that applied for one of our full-time positions, and he does have prior police dispatching experience at Springfield College, where he served as one of their public safety dispatchers. He also worked as a postal clerk, but his job has been impacted by COVID, and he is looking forward to coming and using his dispatch skills here at Sturbridge as a full-time dispatcher, if you will have him appointed.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Kane is on the call
Somebody
tonight
wanna
if you
make
have
a
any
motion?
questions.
Questions? Okay, somebody want to make a motion then?
Oh,
I don't have the,
I'm looking for the amount of money and all that.
yeah, I'm looking for it.
Would it
too.
be the same $20.80 an hour, Chief?
Yes, he would be coming in at the first-year rate as a first-year dispatcher.
So it'd be $20.80 an hour. Yep.
And the start date is,
September 10th.
okay. Make a motion to concur with the appointment of Christopher Kane to, was it full-time?
Yes.
Dispatcher?
Full-time police dispatcher.
Starting September 10th at a rate of $20.80 an hour?
That's correct.
Mary Dowling.
Any discussion? Okay, Ian, how do you vote? Ian, I can see you speak and shake your head, but the voice isn't coming through.
Yeah.
That was a yes.
Okay.
Ian said yes. Mary?
Mary, yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes, too. So congratulations and welcome aboard. Chief,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, next we have letter
I have
of-
it here. I have it.
Next, we have a letter of resignation from Holly Lapidus as Administrative Assistant to the Conservation Commission.
Yes.
Again, she is also moving out of town.
I'm suffering.
Her husband has a
Suffering
different
for
job.
yes.
Is there a motion then to accept the resignation with regret?
Mary Dowling, so moved.
Mike Superdot, second.
Okay, any discussion? Ian, how do you vote?
Ian? Yes.
Mary?
Mary, yes.
Mike?
Mike, yes.
And I vote yes.
Who's caller 7?
Next, we
That's me. I just called in to try to solve the audio issue.
Okay, on your computer, Ian, on the computer, turn your
Yeah.
mic off.
Yes.
It is.
That red, it's a red
your
circle
phone.
on the left.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, then turn the volume all the way down on your computer.
Roger that.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
There we go. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Technical difficulty solved.
Okay, next we have consideration, possible action on the purchase of security camera system for the Town Hall Center office building and public safety building. Jeff, you want to run through that?
I will, and then Jeremy Jalbert, our IT coordinator, is also on the meeting. Town meeting gave us or authorized appropriated money for both the security camera refit at public safety and for external security cameras at Town Hall and COB. Right now, Town Hall and COB do not have internal or external cameras, so this is an enhancement for Town Hall and COB and a full replacement of all the cameras at public safety. We're purchasing these off the state bid, and Jeremy's here to answer any other questions or provide additional information if you would like.
Okay, any questions from the board, Jeremy?
This is Mike, and I'm presuming that the quote is based, or the proposal's based on the state bid. For, you know, it was, the pricing had been bid by some entity, probably, oh yeah, it says state contract.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a state contract for this work. I just wanted to make sure that that the procurement was, you know, competitively bid.
Yep.
Yes.
Anything else from the board? Someone want to make a motion then to accept the proposal from Valley Communications?
Yeah,
I'll make the motion to accept the proposal from Valley Communications for security cameras for the town hall, office building, and public safety.
Second, Mike.
Any discussion? Ian, how do you vote?
Ian, yes.
Mary?
Mary, yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Jeremy, I hope we didn't keep you up.
No, you're good. Thank you very much.
He's got the next one too.
Thank you. Okay. This is consideration and possible action on the contract for installation of fiber optic cable between town buildings. The board have any question on that? The buildings are all listed there.
I have a question that goes back a few years when we entered into the cable TV agreement. Wasn't there some provision in there for them to help out with interconnecting the town buildings and so forth? I thought it was by fiber. So I don't know if there's any money available through the cable contract, but if we need additional funds for this project, I know we got the grant, so that was very helpful. But and is this going to provide a backbone for? I know they're leaving ends for like the library. And is there a reason why we can't connect the library and some other buildings right now? Because they're
Right now, at the moment, the library, center office building are already connected to the town hall. So we pretty much already have that connection at the town hall. So we're just going to expand it from there. Where our mainly goal is going to be to connect the DPW, senior center, and then the two schools together.
in public safety.
Yes, pretty much public safety will be the main hub, From public safety, you're going to have 96 strands of fiber heading out to the southeast area. And we're going to have another 96 strands heading out west towards the school. So this will be good for future growth if you ever want to connect any pump houses, or if we want to connect the water treatment plant. We have the strands there that will be able to connect to whenever we see fit, once we have either another grant or some more funds.
Would this provide enough bandwidth for to add on, say, non-public entities like say, Old Sturbridge Village or other other businesses in town that need gigabyte speeds? Would this provide enough?
It could definitely handle it. It could definitely handle the more speeds, but according to the pole agreement, it has to be only for a municipality. We cannot attach to the poles if we're going to be selling it to any other businesses or anything to that effect.
Mm-hmm. But there are communities that have gotten grants to provide fiber to all of their citizens why does this grant prohibit us from doing that? It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
The grant itself doesn't prohibit it. It is the pole agreement that we have for each pole that is in the town. If we want to use it for a business aspect, we will then have to pay $20,000 to $30,000 to get a make-ready agreement for each pole. And then from there, we may have to replace poles, and then from there, we'll have to pay a fee to be on these poles with our fiber. At the moment right now, the way we're trying to go at it is to be able to just attach to these poles without having to pay any extra money because they're in our land.
So it's between us and the electric company that you're dealing with as far as the pole agreement, right? It's National Grid?
Yeah.
So, that's, I'm looking for the future of the town, having faster speeds than we can get on the old system, the old cable system we have, and, long-range planning for that. And this looks like it provides a nice background. I don't know if the 96 strands is enough, but I would think it would be. If the town at some point wanted to expand the fiber system.
Yeah.
There are municipalities that have created a municipal broadband network. And given our recent challenges with Spectrum, I'm not opposed to that. And it's one of the things I think we need to think about overall. But we can ask town council to review how other towns have used the rights of way to develop their broadband network, right? So that's really the question. And I think from the pole agreement standpoint, it comes down to the definition of municipal use. And does a municipal broadband network that is a revenue generator for the community, is that consistent with the municipal use definition in the pole agreement, right? That's really the question. And on the conservative side, I agree 100% with Jeremy. If we're going to sell a product that's really not municipal use, but we do need to find out how these other communities have deployed a broadband network for municipal use in the public right of way.
I'm on the MMA committee that advises, or policy committee that includes public utilities, and I'm familiar with several communities that have done municipal broadband using fiber. We were the first community in the world to commercially produce fiber optic cable, so it'd be nice if we at least had a broadband system. I don't know if it's municipal or private, that has the speeds that businesses and residents both, need these days.
Yeah, I don't see Spectrum making an
That's,
investment in that for this community.
I don't either, so we gotta think about the future on that for sure. So,
Okay.
All set then? Okay, somebody want to make a motion then?
yeah. I'll make a motion to accept the proposal from Comtrack for the fiber optic network installation.
I'll second the motion. Ian.
Any discussion? Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
Ian, how do you vote?
Ian, yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yes, you too. Okay, next we have consideration and possible action on the contract for annual audit services. Anyone have a question or a comment? Barbara sent a letter along with this because I know last year I had asked if we had looked at any other firms, seeing as we've had the same one for quite a few years. But Barbara explains, this really isn't the time to be going out. And she's always worked well with them, and they've always provided a good product. So anyone have any questions? Anyone want to make a motion?
Mary, I'll make a motion that we approve the extension for audit services for Robert E. Brown, Certified Public Accountant, for fiscal year 2021, 2022, and 2023, as recommended by our finance director.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that, Mike.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Ian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Next, we have consideration and possible action on an agreement for hazardous material removal consulting services. Jeff, do you want to explain this one?
I'll jump in. Robin's on the line too. She can answer some specifics. But Concom had been tasked with getting rid of the abandoned structures that are on some public open space that the town had purchased years ago. Rebecca Gendro and Robin Kravitz have been working together to develop a plan to eliminate, I think, 6 or 7 buildings. What do we got? Something like that. So in preparation for that, they went to CPC in the spring asking for the funds to do the demolition work. And part of that is to make sure that the hazardous materials are handled properly on these buildings or at these buildings. So from there, I'll hand it off to Robin, who did the request for proposal for the services, and she can talk about what we're going to get for our dollars.
Hey, Robin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So under the state contract PRF 69, we received 3 quotes for services from Fuss & O'Neill, Tag & Bond, and PAR Corporation for the to hire them as the third-party consulting for us as the owner for the removal of these projects. The consultant will provide us with a written non-traditional work plan for the asbestos removal for these buildings because the roofs have collapsed. And so when Becky and I were originally pricing and quoting the work with contractors, we had two contractors with two very, very different approaches to the remediation work, which would also leave us in a very awkward bid situation if we were to put that out to bid. So to alleviate that risk, we want to hire this third-party consultant. We're recommending Sutton O'Neill based on the total hourly rates that have been provided and proposed services. And they will ensure us through the entire process that we properly remove, abate all the material. All the contractors that will bid apples to apples. And we will make sure that all of this is properly remediated.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a question. Robin, you said that the decision was based on the fee, and it looks like the initial fee, because we're only approving the initial non-traditional work for Ty and Bond was $3,000, and for Fussin and Neal was $5,500. The total fee for the project was $16,850 for Fussin O'Neill, and for Ty and Bond it's $16,300. So how does the price come in if that's, I don't understand if you're basing it on fee. I mean, they're both very, reputable firms in this area. If you're basing the decision on fee, it doesn't make sense to me.
Understandable. It was difficult. As much as I requested apples to apples from these three quotes, I did not get that. So I have a separate spreadsheet of comparisons. Each engineer provided different estimates for the construction time. And when with my experience for this project, given that we have 3 site locations, the time estimated with Fussin O'Neill for 10 days of construction, 100 air samples, and 10 hours of project management time is where I expected the project to be. When I multiplied Hagen Bonds and PAR's hourly rates, sample, particularly the sample quantities, because Hagen Bond charges for $120 a day for the sample instead of just the sample rate. They also charge an hourly rate. So when I multiply all of those out to be equal, they did not come out. And I don't want to take the risk during construction that we have to keep adding samples, because that's typically where that risk would be during that construction phase. So, unfortunately, I said, as much as you can request apples to apples from each other, you almost never get it.
Yeah, but
I can provide the spreadsheet for you if you would like.
Yeah, because they both used 10 days. Both proposals are based on 10 days of construction.
Yes, but it
it doesn't, well.
Yeah. They were close.
Mike, are you favoring Ty and Bond?
The statement was that it was based on the fee, the selection of the consultant. From looking at these proposals, and I read through them,
they're close.
If you're basing it on fee alone, then Ty and Bond is slightly less, and the initial fee for doing the non-traditional work is less for Ty and Bond.
Have we worked with
I don't understand. I really don't understand what the spreadsheet does, but
Hey, Jeff?
Robin? Oh, I'm sorry, I had a question.
No, Jeff had his hand up, Mary.
Okay.
In Robin's letter to the board, there's a sentence, the quote from Fuss and O'Neill is more expensive up front, $55.50 compared to $4,500. But the construction monitoring recommendations and the rates are better than that of Ty and Bond. So what Robin's saying is they're not apples to apples, and the hourly rates are from Fuss and O'Neill are better than Ty and Bond's, and their construction monitoring recommendations are better. We're getting a different product for a higher price, and I think that's what Robin's trying to explain.
You all set, Mike?
I'm a little confused still, but I don't.
So, Robin, basically, you're getting a more comprehensive oversight with the slightly more money, which leaves us less open to more additional fees, possibly down the road with the lower quote. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense in the long term. When it comes to the construction and the change orders that could add on. The risk that I don't want to take is that a contractor is hired and he takes 10 days and then he takes 20 more days and then he takes 30 more days. And, you know, I'm here to try to prevent that. But in the worst case, if we have to add Tigan Bond for that many more days versus adding Fuss and O'Neill for that many more days, that would be more cost effective for us to have Fuss and O'Neill construction prices. So those are the longer risks I'm looking at. One other contractual item that I forgot to mention was that Fuss and O'Neill has excluded their standard terms and conditions because they fully agree with the terms and conditions of PRF 69 as requested. Tigan Bond, even though they quoted under PRF 69, still provided me with several pages of terms and conditions that I have not forwarded to council for review. However, I did see a few that conflict with the standard terms and conditions of PRF 69.
Hey, Mary?
Most of those are the same.
I'm going to defer to Robin because this is your area, but just a question. I know we've worked with Ty and Bond on a number of projects in the past for many years. What kind of track record do we have with Fuss and O'Neill on other projects? Have we worked with them in the past?
I don't know if they've worked with the town of Sturbridge, but in my former career, I have worked with them extensively, particularly when it came to hazmat on the site.
But you think this is a first time for Sturbridge? Or
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I like I said, I would defer, but I know that, you know, when there's a good track record with a company, that should also weigh in, I think, into the whole pros and cons. But
yeah, that's what I'm getting at. We've got a good track record with Ty and Bond, and I don't know, it's to demolish 3 cabins, outbuildings, 10 days. Yeah, I don't know. If it's a shorter period of time, then Ty and Bond's proposal would be better. So, I don't know.
Well, Robin's explanation sounds reasonable, and along with what Mary says, you know, this is Robin's area of expertise, so I will go along with her recommendation. So does somebody want to make a motion one way or the other?
I'll make the motion to accept the quote from Fuss and O'Neill for the non-traditional work plan, pre-construction phases, and their agreement for a cost of $5,550 as recommended.
Okay, I'll second it. Any more discussion? Ian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes, can I just ask one more question?
Yes.
When we get these quotes, do we also ask for references from other towns? Do we ask for like any kind of recommendations, or do we just do it based solely on the proposal that they submit?
In this particular case, because most of the procurement was done through the state contract, I did not do additional references.
Okay, well, I'll come back to what I'm saying before, that I would defer to Robin, but, you know, for me, I think that when you have experience with a firm and they're this close and you've had a positive experience, in the future, I think that that should also weigh into the whole deliberation, especially when I know this went through the state, so they were already vetted, but when we also don't have any prior experience with a firm, to me, it might have tilted the other way. But again, this is Robin's area, so I will defer. So I vote yes.
Mike, how do you vote?
I have to vote no.
Okay, and I'll vote yes, so that's 3-1. Jeff?
I don't know if Western O'Neill has ever worked for Sturbridge before. I know Italian Bond still does all our water and sewer work, and I don't know that they've done environmental for us other than through water and sewer. I don't know if they've done hazmat. I do know Western O'Neill is one of the leading hazmat engineering firms in the area. I used them in the high school renovation project in Wethersfield for multi-million-dollar hazmat project on that high school. So they have the capability. I'm sure Italian Bond has the capability. That's just where we are.
That's good.
That's what I said. Both firms are qualified.
Yep. But
I agree.
Okay.
If we're basing on price, yep.
Okay, moving on to N. Okay. Consideration and possible action on providing a letter of support from the Board of Selectmen to limited application waiver for the herbicidal treatment of right-of-ways by the Department of Public Works. Okay, and Jeff, that's along the sidewalk?
yes.
Anybody have a question, comment?
It's for poison ivy, that thing, right? I'm assuming.
Poison ivy, other weeds and vegetation
Other
that
herbs.
shouldn't be there. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
It does not include any application within any buffer zone or wetlands resource area. Those are excluded from the. We're not at. Yeah, so it's just in upland areas. That's it. So, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the chair to sign the letter of support on behalf of the Sturbridge Board of Selectmen for the application waiver request for treatment of right-of-ways for poison ivy and other nuisance vegetation.
Is there a second?
Ian, I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, Ian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes, Mary.
Mike?
Yes, Mike.
And I vote yes. Okay, next we have consideration and possible action on donation to the senior center from, there's a donation of $50 from Ruth McDonough and a donation of $25 from John and Judith Taylor. Is there a motion to accept those?
Mary Dowling, so moved, with gratitude.
Second, Mike.
Okay, any discussion? Ian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mary?
Mary, yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next we have consideration and possible action on an amendment of an agreement with the Federal Highway Administration for the funding of construction of a portion of the Grand Trunk Trail. Jeff, do you want to explain that one?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. We have a current agreement with the Federal Highway Administration for the expenditure of roughly $131,000 of state trail grant money. With the current award of another $150,000 grant, we want to incorporate that into the money for this project. So the amended agreement adds $150,000 to the money to be spent in the program and brings a grand total of $281,038.15 into the program under the agreement, under the revised agreement. So basically all it does is adds the new grant to the money being expended on the project.
Okay, does anybody have a question or a comment? Because Tom's here if you do. Does somebody want to make a motion then to approve the amended agreement?
This is Mike, and I'll make a motion to approve the amended agreement for the Grand Trunk Trail design with the Federal Highway Administration.
Second?
Mary Dowling, second.
Any discussion? Ian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mary, how do you vote?
Mary, yes.
Mike, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So I'll set Tom.
Yeah, thanks for all your work on this, Tom. It's been a long, hard road.
Yeah, we still got a path yet to go. But thank you. Good night.
Good night, Tom. Thanks for your perseverance.
Okay, old business. COVID-19 update, Jeff?
Yes, thank you. I only have one item. At the last meeting, we discussed getting the Board of Selectmen and other boards and committees back into live meetings or in-person meetings. So looking at the logistics of that, we can work out the video side. And the challenge really is the board can meet, but having the public in the meeting probably isn't doable due to space constraints and occupancy loads under COVID. So we've been looking at how do we keep a go-to meeting capability while having the board meet in public, which allows the department heads and applicants and other people presenting before the board to utilize the go-to meeting feature as the board meets in person, and then having the public be able to access the meeting and public discussion through the teleconference capability that we have now. We can work out the video side. That's not that difficult to do. The audio is what's causing a problem because of all the different microphones in the room and the inputs into both the go-to meeting side and the cable TV side to broadcast. We're getting some conflicting audio issues. So we still need some time to work that out. So we can't go live on the 21st. We're still trying to work it out. You know, I think everybody wants to get back to live meetings, but we have to provide that public access. And there are still some members of boards and committees that may want to participate remotely because they have certain health conditions where they don't want to be in a room with a bunch of other people. So balancing all those needs into a technological capability is where we are.
Okay, thank you. I know you've been working on it with everyone involved, and it'll get done.
It'll get
Quicker the
done.
better, but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but it
you-
needs to be done properly.
Yeah. You can tell from these meetings, video's not the problem. You can see everybody's faces, you can see expressions. It's the audio, and that's what really drives people crazy, is when they can't hear what's going on. That's the problem, so.
I've never had a problem till tonight, but obviously I had my difficulties tonight, so.
We all do at certain times.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, do you have any old business?
No, I don't. Not at this
Ian, do
time.
you have any old business?
No.
Gary?
Yes, I do have one, and I always kind of wonder if is it old business, is it new business, but it pertains to a discussion we've already had for the Racetrack Equine Center. The chair of the Board of Health reached out to me because she had heard from a resident about it, and she believes that the Board of Health has a role to play with respect to this matter. So I'm going to request that Jeff send out the contact information to the chair of the Board of Health. I'm not going to speak for her, but there's noise mitigation issues and various things that she believes directly impact areas of jurisdiction within the Board of Health. So she wasn't aware of the proposed project. And if we can keep the Board of Health through the chair in the loop, I know that I had requested that timetable of when the various public hearings and need to be held, et cetera. So if the Board of Health can also be copied on that as well. But if she can be given the information, that would be good. And the other...
I have a question.
Sure.
I missed the first part of the topic. Is this the equestrian center? I didn't get that.
It's the equestrian. I said equine. It's the equestrian / racetrack. She reached out to me with questions, and I provided as much background as I could, including the 4-1 vote by the Board of Selectmen to sponsor the zoning change. Again, she was not aware, and I think that she would like to review the project. So she's wanting to know who the project advocates are, the attorneys, the owner of the land in question, that type of thing.
Okay.
So, that's it for old business.
Okay, the only old business I have, Jeff, have we had any applications for the Board of Assessors?
Not that I'm aware of. I can follow up on that.
Sure. Well, if we go any longer, it'll be almost town elections anyway. But it's nice to have a full board.
Yes, it would. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So, new business. Ian, do you have any new business?
I do not.
Mike?
No, I don't.
Mary?
Well, this is an overlap. Under correspondence, the Board of Health had issued a letter dated August 25th to the Charlton Board of Health and the Charlton Selectmen regarding International 508 permits for a entertainment license. Now, they have since pulled that, but she sent me a copy of the letter under the impression that everybody on the board got it. So I assumed it was going to be in the correspondence pack, but it wasn't. So I don't know if other people have seen this letter or what. Anybody here seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Okay,
No, I
so
have not.
Jeff, hold on. My dog, they just, hold on.
Jeff, have you seen the letter?
Oh, we're talking about 508 again?
Yeah, the letter from the.
I'm sorry,
health board. It's
Letter from
It was
Charlton.
written 25th, and under who was copied, it said Jeff Bridges, Town Administrator, Board of Selectmen, and she had indicated that she had forwarded it to Jeff for distribution. So, as I said, I thought it was going to be in the board. It's from the Board of, it's from the Sturbridge Board of Health, and I'll forward it to everybody when we get off. But it's from the Sturbridge Board of Health to the Charlton Board of Selectmen, as well as the Charlton Board of Health and the Charlton Town Administrator. 508 International had applied for an entertainment license. The Sturbridge Board of Health issued their letter with various concerns. I'm not going to, I'll let the document speak for itself. The following day, they did pull the permit with the state because the LLC, I believe in the letter, said it was dissolved. I don't really know why they pulled it, to be honest with you. But it was pulled, so it's somewhat of a moot point right now. But in the event it gets resubmitted, I'd like to bring it up for a discussion with our board in terms of supporting the Board of Health letter. But until everybody sees it, I'm going to send it to everybody. And then at a future meeting, perhaps we can make it an agenda item, because I'd like to have a discussion, have a conversation about our board supporting that letter in the event that they reapply for an entertainment license. As I said, they pulled it after the Sturbridge Board of Health issued this letter. I don't know if one had anything to do with the other, but right now there is no pending permit for an entertainment license. But in the event it comes back, I'd like us to have a discussion as to whether or not we want to take a position on it. I know Fire and Ish sent an email to all of us, and it pertains to that subject. A lot of the residents in that area, Sturbridge residents, are concerned with this possible license. So at this point, it has been pulled. That's my understanding. And I think Ian Geyer sent that to everybody, telling all of us that the request was pulled. It was going to be on the agenda for the Charlton Board of Selectmen, but I guess it was pulled. So anyways, I will forward the letter from Linda Kokalis and the whole Board of Health. But if you look at it under the copy, I think they were under the impression that we had seen the letter. And so I will send along mine.
And I apologize, I don't remember seeing that letter, so.
So I'll send it to everybody. I don't know what happened, but so again, after everybody has a chance to review it, maybe I'd like to make it an agenda item in the event that this business moves forward with their request for an entertainment license. Right now, it's not going forward to the Charlton Selectmen, but it was going forward, which prompted our Board of Health writing a letter. So when we get off of this, I'll forward it to everybody. That
and Mary, we'll have to wait and see when we put it on the agenda. There's no sense, if it's not going forward, there's no sense having a big discussion on it. So,
exactly. But
we would we'd certainly appreciate a copy of the letter.
Okay, yeah. If it goes forward, then of course we should have a conversation. It may not, and so you're right, it would be moved. So that's my only new business.
Okay. Anyone else have new business? I don't. Okay, under new business, so we do have this petition from several people around the lake requesting that the town buy the 11 point something acres of land that is up for sale. Any ideas from the board?
I would think any detailed discussion might best be done in executive session, Madam Chair, at some point in the future if the, if the property is up for sale, any details of, the town purchasing it. But, for the time being, that's, if it's been advertised for sale, has the town received a notice
No,
of sale?
no, we've got no letter on that.
It's just,
So if we do get a notice, we probably should schedule an executive session if we get a notice like that.
it's, sale for 2.85 million. It is in chapter 61B, recreation. Anybody,
11 and a half acres.
if anyone wants to purchase it, they need to, keep it in that. If they don't, and because the use will be changed, then the town will get right of first refusal on it.
Right.
Right now it's
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to pay that kind of money to keep it in 61B.
no, I know.
That doesn't make sense. But if somebody comes along and there's a sale, then the town has a right to take a look at it.
Well, only if they want to change it. If they keep it recreation,
Yeah,
they don't have to notify us. They just have to write a form verifying that you're keeping it in the
I'm just
61B.
assuming if somebody's going to pay that kind of money for it, they're not going to leave it in 61B, which would trigger us taking a look at it. Right now, until we get a notice, there's really nothing we can do.
Nope, just wanted to get thoughts on it because it was signed by quite a few people all around the lake. Okay, next we have correspondence. Mike?
First item dated August 10th is a notice from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Architectural Access Board regarding Burgess Elementary School, 45 Burgess School Road. And the subject is they've received a complaint about the sign for not being there for a parking, handicap parking. So and there's all the regulations attached to that. The second piece of correspondence is also dated August 10th, and it's from Charter Communications regarding upcoming changes to the lineup. And just generally, I'm trying to see what the changes are. It's they're having NBA League Pass and MLS Direct Kick will become available starting September 15th. And the next piece of correspondence is August 19th. So to Jeff Bridges, a letter responding from Jeff regarding to Mr. Reardon regarding the traffic issue on Route 20, New Boston Road, and stating that the selectmen reviewed his letter and that he's thanking him for his and agreeing with safety is our first priority. The next piece of correspondence is from National Grid. It was dated August 19th, and it's National Grid's going to begin resuming some collection activity. So it's I'm sure the townspeople will be receiving notices from National Grid regarding paying their bills. And that's then on August 25th, we received a letter from the Offices of Grants and Research from to the interim chief, Earl Desert, Sturbridge Police Department, regarding a grant in the amount of $50,000 that the town has been awarded, and for FY 2020 coronavirus emergency supplemental funding program. On August 27th, we received a notice from the Conservation Commission regarding a public hearing for Mr. I guess it's Rue. Let's see. Where is that? I can't find it. But anyhow, and the date of the hearing, and I don't know. It's at I-84 eastbound. Anyhow, is at mile marker 2. Reading. And September 1st, 2020, we received notification from the Department of Energy Resources stating that of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to the town administrator, saying that the Department of Energy Resources Green Communities Division has approved $176,918 for the grant, for the Green Communities Grant, and it itemizes which projects are funded for weatherization at the library, for example, and Burgess Elementary School LED lighting, and hybrid police vehicle purchase, and idle right devices, and that sort of thing. The last piece of correspondence is Sturbridge Council on Aging September newsletter, which you can get from the Senior Center if you're interested. Jeff, is that online too, the Senior Center newsletter, the Council on Aging newsletter? Do we have that on our website? Do you know?
Is it on their website or our website?
It might be on this Council on Aging webpage. We did get a copy of the September newsletter, and that's it for the correspondence for August and September.
I believe it's on their website.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrea. Jeff?
Yeah, on page 389, earlier in the meeting, Mr. Mike asked about the Green Communities Grant, what we're spending the money on. Page 389 in your packet has a list.
Yeah.
Has the list of what we're spending that money on.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm going to apologize back on August, I just checked my email records back on August 20th. Ken Lacey sent out a host of documents related to 508 International to the town of Charlton. The letter Mary referenced is in there, so I did get it. But after it got pulled, I didn't move forward on reading the documents that the Board of Health sent out. So I apologize, that's my mistake. I did get that letter back on August 20th.
Okay, I just forwarded it to everybody so everyone can have a chance to read it. In the event that was just a temporary pull, it's probably a good idea that everybody's up to date on what was.
I'll forward everything Ken just sent.
Yeah. All right. And I did it as well. And I copied Linda Cocal. So.
All right. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have the Board of Selectmen minutes of August 17. Anyone have any corrections?
I've got a minor spelling correction on the second page under water and sewer. It says on the fifth line down, it starts out, Supernaut asked if it was true that they have one hauler, Hauler, that can dump septic overnight.
Also, the same word on the next line, too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Above that, at the first line in that paragraph, well, actually, sorry, the second line, lead and copper testing. Lead is LEAD in this case. It's on the second line and third line, Andrea. Okay. On that same page, up above, right after I read through the agenda, that paragraph there with Yankee Spirit, in the process of restricting existing debt, it should be restructuring existing debt.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And other than that, I don't have anything. Does anybody else have anything?
Just
Okay,
one
is
thing.
there a motion to approve as amended? Oh, yes?
Oh, sorry, we're still on minutes. Nope, go ahead.
Okay, is there a motion to approve as amended?
Motion to approve as amended.
I'll second it, Mary Dowling.
Any discussion? Mike, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mary?
Mary, yes.
Ian?
Ian, yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, Mayor Jeff, you were going to say something?
Just a reminder, please stop by over the next couple days to sign the items approved this evening.
Mary?
Mary?
I'm sorry, just very briefly, I want to go back to correspondence. I had raised it when Jeff brought his town administrator's report on 508 International and zoning issues they're looking at, that I had received a text from a resident who urged me to look at and to bring to the attention to other selectmen 508 International Red Trail. There's a YouTube that you can watch, which, well, it speaks for itself. But for those interested, 508 International Red Trail, YouTube.com, and it discusses what this resident is concerned with respect to land that is in Sturbridge. So everybody can look at it as they see fit.
Okay. Citizens Forum?
Check. Good evening. Is there anyone that would like to speak on the Citizens Forum at tonight's meeting? Good evening. Is there anyone for the Citizens Forum for the Board of Selectmen? No one's on the line.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Mike, how do you vote?
Oh, yes.
Mary?
Mary, yes.
Ian?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Hey, have a good night.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Every
safe.
Thanks.